Hi, I'm Sophie Ainsworth and you're watching home of the British Sailing Team TV channel. Yesterday we saw some really tight racing out on the racing courses. The pressure was up and down, 7 to 9 knots, and quite shifty, creating lots of opportunities but making it really hard work. In the Scud, Alexandra Rickham and Nikki Birrell are currently second overall. They got a fourth in the first race yesterday and a second in the second race. Helena Lucas in the 2.4 had another tricky day. She got a third in the first race and an 11th in the second race. In the second race, at the top mark, going on to the run, she was given a yellow flag by the jury for rocking. In the sonars, John Robertson, Hannah Stodall and Stephen Thomas had another tricky day with a fourth in the first race and a fifth in the second race. They're currently fifth overall on equal points with fourth and third and 1 point off second, so it's all to play for. In the first race yesterday, they had an incident with the Australians where they were on starboard and the Australians were on port. It ended up in the protest room. They won this time. The jury disqualified the Australian team from the first race yesterday. They had a bit of bad luck in the second race where they had a plastic bag or something equally slow on their rudder. The weather today, we'll see a sea breeze development, 19 to 20 degrees Celsius, with an increasing breeze from a north to northeasterly direction, veering to northwest. And today I'm joined by John Derbyshire, the RYA Performance Director. So, we've seen some really exciting racing so far. What have you made of the first few days?
Well, as expected, the Paralympic racing's really close, very intense, and it's often determined by the evening wind shifts in the protest room. I mean, some surprising activity, and it looks like our rules teams have been pretty busy. Fantastic.
What can we expect to see out on the water today? What are the conditions looking like?
Well, as you just said in your weather forecast, we're expecting some sea breeze to kick in. Right now, it's very, very light. And if the sea breeze kicks in, the wind will start to swing round and pick up the optimum direction. And I think depends on the race time. If the races get delayed because of the light wind, then we've got more chance of the sea breeze stabilising. But if they go on time, then we could see some big shifts during the racing, and that becomes much more difficult to predict for the sailors. They'll probably have an idea of which way it's likely to go. They'll probably set off in that direction, hoping to get the new wind first. But of course, as everybody knows, the game of sailing is all about second guessing the wind, and those who get it right will end up with the best scores at the end of the day.
And here we are at home games. How have the British public been embracing this Paralympics?
I think we've seen right across the sort of Paralympics GB that the intensity and the quality of the performances is just fantastic. And I'm hearing many times on the radio and on the TV that people are not thinking of this as being disabled sport. It's just sport, and people are watching it for the quality of the activity. And it's no different in the sailing. And we're very fortunate. We're a totally integrated sport, so we actually run our programs for our Olympic sailors and our Paralympic sailors as combined programs. We have 10 Olympic classes, we have 3 Paralympic classes, so we run 13 class program, and all we do is provide training that's appropriate to the needs and skills of the sailors in a particular class. So for us, it's just fantastic to see how much enthusiasm Great Britain's got for Paralympic sport, and in particular for the sailing, where we've got more and more sailors coming forwards, and we want to see those sailors really take their sport to the next level.
So far we've seen some great performances from the British sailing team. Who is it that we need to be looking out for?
Well, all of them are absolutely capable of winning medals at this regatta. The only thing stopping them is other sailors. I think in particular at the moment you'd have to look at Alex and Nikki in the Scud. They're only 1 point off the gold medal position, and they've been very solid in their performances to date at this regatta. But over the last 4 years, they've been consistently one of the top best two teams in the world. So they're probably the standout team. I think particularly impressed so far by Helena Lucas in the single-handed 2.4 metre boat. She's the only female competitor in that particular fleet, and yet she started out with a stunning opening day with a second and a first. She carried on the good work yesterday, but that is intensely competitive. It's a really tricky little boat to sail. Every part of the boat can be altered, so lots of tweaking and tuning, and if you get it right you can go 1% faster. If you get it wrong you go 1% slower, so getting it right all the time is really difficult, and I think the racing we've seen has been very close. So Helena's right in there as well, and John, Hannah and Stephen in the sonar. I think they'll be looking today to really consolidate on their performances. We're getting to the halfway stage in the regatta. They're in touch with the top three, and I think they'd like to start making a move on them.
We've seen some really close racing. Who are the other contenders that we need to watch?
Well, in each fleet it's different countries, but clearly yesterday in the Scud the American team got 2 first places, so that shot them up the medal table. So they're one of the top twos. But overall as nations, it's our old rivals, the Australians, and again and again we just see that sort of that rivalry come to the fore in our particular sport. So I think that the strongest nation's the Americans, but in each fleet there are individual sailors who are extremely good and have invested a lot of time, effort in preparing for these games. So you can't rule any of the top half a dozen out in each of the fleets.
How do programmes such as Sailability help feed in talent?
Well, I think in the Paralympic side, it is a huge commitment. It's a similar level of commitment to Olympic sailing, and you'll know about that and how long that journey takes. And I think over the next few years, what we're going to see is more integration between the sailability groups, where people learn to sail and they're introduced to racing. And what we're looking to do is provide the opportunity at a regional level through organisations such as the Volvo Champion Club schemes that we have, where we'll be able to provide higher quality racing, explain to people what the journey is for Paralympic sailing, and we're looking to increase the number of sailors that we have on our development programmes feeding into this pathway. We want to give the Helenas and the Alexes and we want to give all these sailors a hard time. We want them to have to work to be the best of British, because we know that if you're the best of British, generally you're the best in the world, and that's the aspiration. So through the sailability clubs, if you don't sail at all, learn to sail, learn to race there, go to one of the high performance clubs in our regions, and that's where you'll get the introduction to the Paralympic style of sailing, mainly through the single-handed 2.4s. Once you've shown potential there, then we'll be looking to introduce people into the more Paralympic side of things with a more full-time programme.
Great, thanks very much, John.
Thanks, Sophie.
Remember to keep commenting on Facebook, keep those good luck messages rolling in. The sailors really appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter, but most of all, stay tuned. I'll be bringing you all the latest news from today's racing. I'm Sophie Ainsworth, and you've been watching Home of the British Sailing Team TV channel.